In the West African tradition, griots are storytellers who maintain a tradition of oral history. Simply put, they're the keepers and disseminators of our collective consciousness. That tradition is alive and well here in Brooklyn, and the history is happening right now. Griots in the Sty, a neighborhood as a living archive, is described by its organizers as an ephemeral public art exhibition of photographs.
Those photos are being accompanied by an online archive of personal stories from BedStuy residents. Independent curator Rasu Jelani conceived of Griot in the Sty and actually shot the video components of the show. Welcome to BK Live, Mr.
How you doing?
And welcome back.
Welcome.
Oh,
even.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Wow. The seat's still warm. Kwesi, you're from Guyana.
Yes,
and you've actually trained your lens on New York, shooting photos and experimental short films about the human state. And some of those photos are featured in Griot in the Sty. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here and inviting me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got some questions for these guys?
Yeah, I've got a few questions for you, if that's okay.
Oh, shoot.
But let's start from the beginning. Why don't you tell us about your backgrounds and what you guys do?
I'll defer to Ross. Oh,
okay.
He wants to defer to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Kwesi Abinsets. I'm originally from Guyana. I came to the United States in '95, and I lived in New York briefly for about a year. Then I moved to Maryland, D.C. area. Moved back to New York in 2002, and I've been here since.
Didn't love the Maryland?
No, I actually did love it. I loved it because there was like a lot of trees and space and so forth. So it kind of, since I just left Guyana where it's more very open to, so I wanted that feeling again. So I went.
And you were a self-trained photographer. So what inspired you to pick up the lens and figure this thing out?
Well, I guess it's related to personality because I went to Brooklyn College for filmmaking, but in terms of filmmaking, it requires such a large amount of people. So when I finished, I just got myself a camera and just wanted to kind of do things by myself. So I chose to, well, digital photography started happening at that time. And so I just went ahead and bought a digital camera and just started teaching myself, and then, you know, from there. I didn't really call myself a photographer then, though. I was just a guy with a camera.
So Rasu, how'd you get mixed up with this guy with the camera?
I've known Kwesi for almost, probably like a decade.
Yeah.
And just always been an admirer of his work, his keen eye on, you know, representing people of the darker complexion in his photography. So when I was embarking, or I was coming up with this idea for, at the time it was just called the BedStuy Portraits, I was thinking about, I personally wanted to capture stories, but I needed someone with a keen eye on capturing portraits. And the first person that came to mind was Kwesi. And we worked before in Jamaica, doing something similar in Jamaica, but I wanted to kind of get deeper in the process. So this project is really about process. It's really about honoring people's truths and stories and talking about a community from within, because media has really been taking a top-down approach of looking down and dissecting and analyzing a community. I wanted those stories to come from within the community.
So why Bedstuy?
We lived there.
We lived there. We've been making a lot of memories there. We have been, I mean, the people that we have featured, they have been part of our lives for so long. And then it's just to bring everyone, again, as Rasu said, you know, bring everyone from the bottom up to the top, because it's just bringing everyone to the surface. And maybe it's from the perspective of just saying, like, well, not making it so localized in the sense of just local. What does that mean? It just means that we're giving recognition to the people. We're also bringing, or I should say, encouraging the confidence of even the people in the neighborhood.
Right.
And the other perspective is, you know, I wanted to tell a story about the cultural shift in New York City, and that's such a ambitious conversation to have. Yeah. So the best way to really enter a conversation is start from, you know, a microcosm. And so what I've been doing is looking at how can I tell a New York story, but using my neighborhood and enrolling my neighborhood into that storytelling. So it's looking at my neighbors as collaborators in this collective storytelling. And then so even within Bed-Stuy, which is huge, I had to really focus on my corridor of Tompkins Avenue.
Right.
So Tompkins Avenue becomes the spine of the project, and I kind of have anecdotal kind of stories off of the corridor. So Tompkins Avenue becomes a metaphor for Bed-Stuy, Bed-Stuy becomes a metaphor for Brooklyn, Brooklyn becomes a metaphor for New York City.
I'm interested in what surprised both of you. If you, Rasu, in hearing some of the stories of the neighbors, the people we sort of pass every day, was there anything that sort of made you pause for a second and hearing the story behind just seeing the face on the street?
I would say the overarching, I guess, surprise. Because, I mean, one of the things about this project is you go in, and because you're with the community, you already have these assumptions. I had to empty my cup, and it reset my assumptions about my community. So one of the overarching lessons that I've learned, or breakthroughs I've had, is the complexity of a neighborhood, you know? So for example, if I pick up the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, they'll tell you Bed-Stuy is an up-and-coming neighborhood because of these reasons. And it's a very kind of outside perspective. But however, when you get into the community, all of the minutiae and all the nuances of the community, you start to notice all of these parallel narratives, all of these complex stories. So a neighborhood is very complex. And what's happening in a neighborhood in terms of the change, there are complex reactions to it, there's complex reasons to it, and there's complex involvement in it. So just having an overarching, you know, oh, people are just pushing people out, or about some of that is happening. That's a valid story, but there's other stories going on. So let's get into the complexities and not try to simplify and create
or sweep it under the rug, right?
Yes,
You're
that's what I'm
trying
getting
to
at.
really
Yep.
put that in focus, right? You're
Absolutely.
purposefully taking people who've been in the neighborhood for a long time and folks who have just moved in and bring them together.
There are two communities, and from our perspective, this is my perspective. there's
Only two?
There's two communities in Bed-Stuy. There's the new incoming community, right? And then there's the traditional community. And what I find is that, for the most part, you know, there are exceptions, they don't talk to each other. So you have these two communities, and the fault line is this assumptions about each other. This project seeks, but it's not, you know, I can't be ambitious enough to know it's gonna be the answer. It seeks to have people start to imagine, okay, what's the story behind my neighbor?
So we are in our last minute. Is the project closed? Is it going to be ongoing? I know you've been working with the folks at Laundromat. They've been a good laundromat project. They've been a partner for you. So are you going to expand, or where can folks see it?
Okay, so the Laundromat Project, they're the organization that has commissioned this project and sponsoring it. The project is not done. So there's three phases, right? There's personal, those are the stories that I've collected over the last 5 months. There's public, which is the public exhibition, which we unveiled last Sunday. And then the last phase is digital, which I'm working on right now, is developing a website that's not done yet. It's not up yet, right?
So and the photos will be up through November?
The photo will be up, because it's digital, the photos will be up forever, digitally.
But what about the ones that are on the storefront?
Indefinitely, until the owner tells
Until they, oh, that's great.
Yeah, so
that's great.
So that, and then our next phase is there's another local a business that said, you know what, put some on my wall as well. So there's going to be another phase.
All right, I live in Bed-Stuy. Where can we go see it?
It's on Tompkins and Monroe.
Okay.
On the wall of a local boutique called Sincerely Tommy. Right on that wall, you'll see about 31 faces.
Yeah, right across from Crocus.
Yep, exactly.
Excellent. All right, I'll be by to see them.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Excited about your
Thank you so
project.
much.
On to
Appreciate
phase 3.
being here.